How's it going, my friends? Welcome back to another quick little. I feel I need to really work on like an intro for this thing. I keep saying Scribblechat's just what I called it. Let me give you a little brief history of Scribblechat. Scribblechat goes back, oh frig now, like five, seven. I want to say 7 years around there. Uh, Initially, it was a chat that, or a podcast that myself and a gentleman named Charlie Harper, who sadly I don't think even draws at all anymore. I could be wrong. We didn't know each other in like real life. Just I forget honestly how, man. It might have been through the Art and Story podcast. To be honest, I've talked about that from time to time, and that whole podcast too is gone. But it was around for a very long time. But Jersey Droz, he's still very much doing all the exact same things he was doing back then on that podcast. You can check out he's got a bunch of things going on. You can check out Jersey Droz on Patreon for sure. Boulder and Fleet is the webcomic he likes to do from time to time. When he gets the time, it seems like. Comics Are Great is the big one him and Rob Stenzinger do, but I didn't mean to turn this into a whole plug thing. It was just the stream of consciousness here, how it goes. But anyway, so Scribble Chat was sort of like I forget how me and Charlie started talking, but I just wanted to have something to talk about, kind of like this in a way. You know, video is great, but audio is awesome too, specifically for people that are actually working. I find with the art stuff, like a video, it's great, but that's not maybe not just for people, but there's two different audiences, right? Some people like both, but usually there's people that like watching process of art, and then there's some people that just like listening to stuff in the background, and it's all that kind of thing. But as creative people, we like to just keep some of us, and myself included, just like to talk about process and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, that's how that started, and then that sort of fell apart as everything always does, and I started it back up again when I moved from Toronto. How long ago would that be now? Maybe it was around. Man, you know what? Scribble Chat might be like 10 years old. Now that I'm thinking about it, because about 7 years ago is when I moved back to Windsor from Toronto, and I'd broken up with my long-term girlfriend at the time, and it was almost like a life restart when I moved back. So I even moved in back with my dad and my stepmom, and that was a whole thing. That was like, it's great that it's there, but once you leave the nest, it's nice to, you miss the independent stuff. For those that are listening, you might be a little younger, but there might be a fear of moving out, and it's a warranted fear. And all my old people, you'll hear me out. So there's a nice warm comfort of living at home, and then once you get kicked out, it's pure stress. Some people they experience it a little different, but it's a little bit stressful. You got to figure out how to feed yourself now, right? Nobody's washing your clothes or your dishes or any kind of uh, you know chore you didn't have to do is now 100% your responsibility and stuff, right? But then you learn this magical thing called independence, and that thing just takes over, and then you're like, oh my god, I can do it. Some people, struggle with it. Some people don't. But once you get it, if you ever end up going through some crap where you have to go back to where you started in a way, it's not like you've fallen and there's no hope and you're just sort of starting back from scratch kind of thing. It's great to have that place to fall back to, but at the same time, you kind of you've moved on. You're not the same person that left anymore. You're this new version of you, right? And it's good. It's a healthy thing. It's a healthy thing. So I'd moved back from Toronto. I didn't really mean to go down this whole like what the hell is Scribble Chat thing. I don't know why this is going this long, but we'll keep it keep it going. So I moved back down with my dad. My stepmom stayed there for I think at least a year or two maybe, and then I finally was got to basically what happened once I moved back to Windsor. I was supposed to. I don't mean to re-scratch scabs, but some people like story time kind of thing. So came back from Windsor. The intent was my girlfriend at the time and we were going to buy a house, move back here because Toronto. We had moved out to Toronto for her. She was into photography, and here in Windsor, it's very small. I figured as an artist, all I need is a table. This was when I used to draw with pencil to do my comic book work, right? So all I needed was a table, a kitchen table. Doesn't matter where it is. For the most part, should be able to go with an internet connection, right? But she needed content. With photography, you got to take a picture of something that exists, right? So she needed a place where more of that was. Not to say that it's not here, but just for her at the time, that's where we went. So yeah, moved over there. I wasn't happy at all up there. fast forward, I think maybe 4 years, maybe it was about 3 or 4 years, moved back down. Almost like didn't work. So we'll get it started here. And then she wanted to separate, which was like, oh, okay, so now what? So then that's when I moved in with my dad, and it almost felt like a life restart, even though I just kind of said it doesn't. It felt like a life restart in a lot of ways because at that time, that's when I first tried to do freelance, and I squandered that opportunity, guys. I shit all over the opportunity. I got, I guess, what's a good word of saying? Spoiled in the routine that I had. I was working at the Standard at the time, which was like a full-time comic kid, but it was only 6 issues. But I was able to stretch that out because my cost of living went way down. I didn't need travel or anything anymore, right? So my cost of living went way down, and I could pick up covers and maybe like 3-page pitches at the time was like the big money making kind of thing. But I never grew from it. It was just like taking work just for work's sake, and I wasn't really working on any of my own stuff. Not that you need to. Back then it was a little different. Back then I'm talking like it was like 50 years ago. This is like 10 years ago, maybe 10, yeah, around there. It was a little different back then, like I know I was totally a different person, and I was just grabbing stuff for paychecks, and the idea was always to get with Marvel, DC, that kind of stuff, and all the indie stuff. Not that it wasn't worth my time or anything, but it was very much driven like freelance in terms of I just need a paycheck, and comics is something I feel okay doing, kind of thing, right? And I totally still, even looking back now, I'm glad I didn't get hired at any of those companies because I would have most likely either shit all over it or B, it like I wouldn't have had my best foot going forward. Like the guy I am now, I'm glad. I'm glad all this has happened because I've become, as many things happen, right? Something bad happens. Hopefully you rise up to be something better. You learn from the mistakes, and you keep growing. I'm way more positive. Let's put it that way. Way more in the right direction, and all that good stuff. So had to move back. Had to get another job, get the day job because I gotta move out now, right? So I gotta get all that stuff. And so I went back actually to the very first job I left, which was working at a dollar store called Dollarama, and my old manager was there, and it just so happened that they needed the exact same position. It was a key holder, it's called, that I worked there, and then that's the job I had, and I would bike every day because I didn't have a car because I sold it, right? So, and how old would I have been around this time? Like 25, 26? I feel like I would have been older. 28, maybe around there. I felt definitely aged. Let's put it that way. Like I felt I'd already accomplished these things in air quotes, and now I was redoing it all. It was a really messed up time for me anyway. But what I started doing that time was after a while, biking. It was pretty quiet sometimes. I'd be done work around 10, 10 to 11, and on the walk home, it's like a 20-minute bike ride or whatever. I could just be myself, and then that's when I started going. Maybe I should like this. This is talking about like maximizing my time, right? And this is where that stuff started to start, and I started to go on more walks. But then I started thinking. At the time, there was I don't even think he still does it anymore. What's his Chris Oatley? I think his name. He used to do podcasts and stuff. Not it is what it is, but he used to go on walks and record, and I thought, man, that's a pretty smart idea for maximizing time. And then so that's where Scribblechat came back again, and I forget where I was posting it. I think I was just uploading it to like a legit podcasting thing, and that's all it was. I think I did like 20 episodes or something on there, and I know some of you, the familiar faces, you guys have been around for a long time. You guys are listening to some of that. But that's where it went, and then it stopped because there's no reason I'm not doing podcasting anymore. So when I started doing this, I'm like, I needed that title, something, and then like the whole I don't want to call it a brand, I guess, but it just makes it easier to talk about the Scribble. So just put it there. That's where it comes from. The only reason I got into all of that. The reason I got into all of that is because somebody asked me, about the name, where did it come from? Not like again, it's nothing special, and I wanted to. Somebody else asked me. This is like a combo question. Like, at what age did you really start focusing on art? And I wanted to say all of this at the tail end of that whole speech because it just sort of ties it in, and you can kind of see where it's at, and kind of like where I'm going with this stuff. So I don't care how old you are, where you're at. Just keep, find your why. Try to keep it grounded. Keep it simple. And just use it as your flag post because, man, I haven't gone through a lot of stuff. I know I haven't compared to a lot of people. But there's definitely been some ups and downs, and my battles have mostly been just in my own brain. Issues I have with that and other things of just, whatever. And as I tackle them, it's awesome. It's great to see this stuff. I've just been noticing stuff like I've been following a few other web comics. I don't want to say them yet. I wanted to say them for another episode. Just cool. It's really awesome to just be, even when you're down, if anybody's listening and you guys are down and you guys are feeling the dumps and all that stuff, you'll find the magic in why you even picked up your pencil to start with soon. Like it does come back, and when it comes back, like I'm just being grateful for it. I was talking to my art buddy at work, and we were just sort of talking about this is kind of funny. So I do like mobile game work, and he's just hired on, so he's getting used to all the new art kind of stuff, right? He comes from a very heavily illustrative background, which is awesome, which is great. Very talented artist, and we just started talking, and not in like a trying to prove a point kind of way, but he was getting stuck in the detail of this one image, and he was saying how the anatomy was wrong and the lighting, kind of thing. And I just had to chime in to give my 2 cents of what I've found through the 4 years that I've been doing it. I was in the same boat. I would redraw things over and over again to just get it right. And because in comics, you can kind of let this slide and you'll see where I'm going. But in games and stuff, I argue that you can get away with it a little bit more worse, especially if something is like, okay, here, let me back this up. You can't fix shit, meaning you can't fix shit artwork, right? You can only make shit prettier. So an example would be, let's say there's like a foreshortened character, but it's well rendered, but the foreshortening is wrong. That's in an artist's eyes, right? I'm not saying you're going to call people's art shit, but I'm going to, for the sake of this conversation, I'm going to call it polished shit. It looks amazing. It looks amazing, but it's wrong. Anatomically and structurally and artistically and blah, 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 it's wrong. There's points where that they didn't do it. But for whatever reason, in games, at least what I've found is that, and this is where it sort of ties into comics, is you have to look at what we create from, or I suggest that we look at it from a realm of a consumer, not a creator. Artists, we will find things that people don't see. They just don't see it. That's the artist's eye kind of thing, right? And I told them, and again, this is why it's the same for comics, is like, this is just what's called a pop-up. So if you ever played a mobile game, right, and you ever click the shop button, we'll say, and it, that screen pops up with buy for all this amount, that's a pop-up. And in that pop-up, the whole point of that is to convert people to spend money, to buy things. That's the whole point of it. The artwork is just there to invoke a feeling. That's it. Whether that feeling is excitement, security, anything that makes the person feel okay to spend that dollar, right? Could be greasy, could be all kinds of things, but that's the point of it. That's the whole point of it. If you buy a game for $80 and you go to a UI, like a menu, you click the settings because you want to see what settings there are. That's designed very statically to just be function. It's not there to entice you to buy things. And it's very funny. Now that I've been working in games for a little while, it's like I look at games different, way different than I did when I didn't work there. I see the greasy little mechanics of buying the little things and putting the little fleckle to draw your attention there and stuff. But what I was trying to get at was, it's just this attention to detail that it's more function than it is artistic. So to bring this back to comics is like, I know a lot of you out there, you might spend hours and hours and hours on your stuff when you really don't, not that you don't need to, but when you post it on art forums. Here's a great example. I just saw there's like all this drama on the How to Draw Facebook page. I just quickly posted a picture, and something came up that I wanted to answer a question somebody had on there. And then I just started scrolling through that just to check it out. I try to like stay off Facebook as much as humanly possible, except for like the Messenger thing. But I was on there, and I just started noticing like people were just ripping people's stuff apart. And this is something to remember again for you guys and girls. Okay, when we're posting stuff on art forums, I would only recommend you do that if you're looking for a critique, because you're showing it to a bunch of artists. And artists are like, and I've said this before in my opinion, for different reasons, we're like comedians. We see the world in a different way that normal people or other people don't. Comedians see the world in a way that other non-comedians don't. And that's why they're comedians. They can see that stuff. And that's why we're artists, because we can see that stuff. We can communicate it. So when we see a poorly drawn drawing or something's off, I would say that if you're not maybe not a professional, I'll say professional. If you're not a professional and you just assume somebody is posting a picture, they're just showing their work. They're not asking for a critique, and then you give them a critique. I don't know if that's necessarily the best way to do it, because that person isn't looking for critiques. They're just, throwing their, what in the air, just going like, hey, look at my stuff. And that stuff just needs to to disappear. That stuff isn't relevant, especially if you're posting to an art forum for critique. So, for my artist friends out there, I know a lot of you ask, like, John, how do I build an audience and all that kind of stuff? That sort of ties in all this stuff here. You know, post everywhere, post everywhere, post everywhere, but do not post to like an art forum. That's one way or the other, generated for critique purposes and just trying to take what people are saying and like not use it. You know, you have to build this up slowly. Use social media to post your stuff. I feel like I'm all over the rails on this one. So I'm gonna wrap it up. But anyway, I just want to give you guys little updates. There's like little notes here that I have that I'm just hitting. It's not really like a topic in general that I wanted to talk about, so that's why we're all over the place today. But anyway, I apologize for the last couple days. There hasn't been an episode. I've been horribly sick, and it's finally starting to get a little bit better. I'm feeling it. Like there's a little sour gut going on, but I'm going to try shoving some coffee down in there, right? Just deep down the throat and get like the hot coffee all inside, see how the sourness goes. I'm also going to chase that with a chocolate chip cookie or two. We made a couple of those, and we'll see. We'll see how we react to fun food, you know, good fun food. So art-wise, and I will be talking more about process and stuff. I haven't forgot about you guys. So I haven't been able to work on really anything. I've just felt absolutely like shit. That's the excuse I'm using. So today I've got still that one page of the Spider-Gwen samples breakdowns to do. So we're going to do that first and foremost. And then what I thought I would do, and this might be a little fun, you guys that are listening now, you might actually be able to jump in by the time this goes up. I figured I'm going to stream, and we'll see how this works. I don't know how it'll work because I'm doing screen recording as well of my JESOP King cover. I'm going to do the line art for that. And if I'm streaming, I might just go straight into inks as well. I might just finish the whole damn thing. I'll be honest. The streams, they end up going real fun. We'll just see what happens with my computer if it can handle it. If not, then we'll figure it out. Tomorrow, I will see you guys, and I'll give you guys a little update of what happened. I don't think we'll be streaming. I could be wrong. We'll see. We'll see. I'd like to get at least one more stream in during the week. The weekend stream always seems good. One during the week also would be awesome too. So, all right, I'm gonna let you guys go. I appreciate you guys' time, like usual. Whatever you're working on today, kick its ass. Don't let it kick your ass. And stay at the drawing board. Stay at the Cintiq. Whatever you're working on, stay there. You're gonna fight that friggin' resistance, man. It's gonna just pulse and nag at you in the back of your head, and that's just because it's got to come out. Okay, so just grit your teeth, get in there, soldier up. Just get it out there, okay? Don't let it rot in the back of your head or in the back of your hand, not being able to come through the pencil, okay? So I wish you all the best. Good luck, and I will talk to you tomorrow, and I'll see you then. Bye-bye.